lovelies. So as you can see, I have 3 boxes full of books from Book Outlet. I went a little cray cray. Okay, let me set these down, take the plastic off, get them open, and I'll set them all on the shelves, and then we'll get started. These things are heavy. I worked up a sweat doing that. So as you can see, there's a lot of books. A lot of books. Okay, I'm just gonna start with this stack here. Okay, so the first book I have here is The Last House on Needless Street by Katarina Ward. I've heard lots of people talking about this and have loved it, so I wanted to give it a shot. It's also super floppy. This says, in a boarded up house on a dead-end street at the edge of the wild Washington woods lives a family of 3. A young girl who isn't allowed outside, not after last time. A man who drinks alone in front of his TV, trying to ignore the gaps in his memory. And a house cat who loves napping and reading the Bible. An unspeakable secret binds them together, but when a new neighbor moves in next door, what is buried out among the birch trees may come back to haunt them all. The Last House on Needless Street is an immersive and shocking journey that will keep you guessing until the last page. And apparently this was named one of the 50 best horror books of all time by Esquire. Next up we have a Merry Little Meet Cute by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. So this was one that I had actually pre-ordered, and then I'm not sure what happened, but my pre-order got canceled for it. I think I had pre-ordered it through Book Depository. And it was supposed to come out before they closed. I don't know what happened. But when I saw it on Book Outlet, I was like, you know what, I'm going to grab it. This says, co-written by #1 New York Times best-selling author Julie Murphy and USA Today best-selling author Sierra Simone, a steamy plus-size holiday rom-com about an adult film star who is semi-accidentally cast as a lead in a family-friendly Christmas movie, and the former bad boy pop star she falls in love with. B. Hobbs, aka Bianca Von Honey, has a successful career as a plus-size adult film star with a huge following and 2 supportive moms. She couldn't ask for more. But when her favorite producer casts her to star in a Christmas movie he's making for the squeaky clean Hope Channel, B's career is about to take a more family-friendly direction. Forced to keep her work as Bianca under wraps, Bee quickly learns this is a task a lot easier said than done. Though it all becomes worthwhile when she discovers her co-star is none other than childhood crush Nolan Shaw, an ex-boy band member in desperate need of a career rehab. Nolan's promised his bulldog manager to keep it zipped up on set, and he will if it means he'll be able to provide a more stable living situation for his sister and mom. But things heat up quickly in Christmas Notch, Vermont, when Nolan recognizes his new co-star from her closed doors account. Oh yeah, he's a member. Now Bea and Nolan are sneaking off for quickies on set and keeping their new relationship a secret from the Hope Channel's execs. Things only get trickier when the reporter who torpedoed Nolan's singing career comes snooping around and takes an instant interest in mysterious newcomer Bea. And if Bea and Nolan can't keep their off-camera romance behind the scenes, then this merry little meet-cute might end up on the cutting room floor. Okay. Okay, next up is Forging Silver into Stars by Bridget Kimmerer. This is like it's part of the Cursebreaker world, which was like A Curse so Dark and Lonely, and I absolutely loved that series. This is like a spin-off of this, and that's the name of the series. So I believe I could read this without any spoilers. This says, when ancient magic tests a newfound love, a dark fate beckons. Magic has been banished in the land of Syl Shadow for as long as best friends Jack and Kaylin can remember. They once loved the stories of powerful mage smiths and mythical scrabbers who conjured fire and controlled ice, but now they learn magic only leads to danger. Magic is what killed Kaylin's parents, leaving her to raise her younger sister. Magic never helped Jax, whose leg was crushed in an accident his father has punished him for ever since. Magic won't save either of them when the tax collector comes calling. Meanwhile, Jax and Kaelin are astonished to learn a mage smith has returned to Seal Shallow, and he's married to their new queen. Now the people of Seal Shallow are expected to allow dangerous magic in their midst, and no one is happy about it. When a stranger rides into town offering Jax and Kaelin silver in exchange for holding secret messages for an anti-magic faction, the choice is obvious, even if it means they may be aiding a plot to destroy their new king. It's a risk they're willing to take. That is, until another visitor arrives in town. Handsome Lord Tycho, the king's courier, the man tasked with discovering who's conspiring against the throne. Suddenly, Jax and Kaelin find themselves embroiled in a world of shifting alliances, dangerous flirtations, and ancient magic, where even the deepest loyalties will be tested. Next up, I got a couple of these like stunning classics. They're like soft covers. This one is The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo, and I love these. I think they're so beautiful. And I've never, ooh, that writing is tiny. I've never actually read The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I thought it'd be interesting. A one-eyed man is much more incomplete than a blind man, for he knows what it is that's wanting. It's gorgeous though. Next up is The Silent Woods by Kimmy Cunningham Grant. This says, no electricity, no family, no connection to the outside world. For 8 years, Cooper and his young daughter Finch have lived in isolation in a remote cabin in the northern Appalachian woods, and that's exactly the way Cooper wants it, because he's got a lot to hide. Finch has been raised on the books filling the cabin shelves and the beautiful but brutal code of life in the wilderness, but she's starting to push back against the sheltered life Cooper has created for her, and he's still haunted by the painful truth of what it took to get them there. The only people who know they exist are a mysterious local hermit and Cooper's old friend Jake, who visits each winter to bring them supplies. But this year, Jake doesn't show up, revealing just how precarious their situation really is. And when a stranger wanders into their woods, Finch's growing obsession with her could put them all in danger. After a shocking disappearance threatens to upend the only life Finch has ever known, Cooper must decide whether to keep hiding or finally face the sins of his past. Vividly atmospheric and masterfully tense, These Silent Woods is a poignant story of survival, sacrifice, and how far a father will go when faced with losing it all. Next up is The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. And this says, living in two worlds is exhausting, and no one knows this better than 16-year-old Jake Livingston. His working-class, diverse neighborhood is a far cry from the world of St. Clair Prep, where he is one of the only black students, constantly at the mercy of racist teachers and peers who don't understand him. But when his neighbor, a survivor of a grisly school shooting, is murdered and the bloody initials of the now-dead shooter, Sawyer Doone, are left on the entryway wall of Jake's home, Jake is forced to confront another world he wishes he could escape, the world of the dead. As a medium, Jake sees ghosts around him all the time. Most are harmless, stuck in their death loops as they relive their deaths over and over again. They rarely interact with people, and while for most of his life Jake has avoided them, this time there is no running away. Sawyer was a troubled teen who shot and killed 6 kids at a local high school before taking his own life. Now he's a powerful, vengeful ghost, and he has plans for his afterlife. Plans that include Jake. When Sawyer begins stalking him, high school becomes a different kind of survival game, one Jake is not sure he can win. Gripping, timely, and utterly unapologetic, The Taking of Jake Livingston is a chilling horror that haunts with searing social commentary from an exciting new talent. And next we have Dead End Girls by Wendy Hurd. This one says, in 1 week, Maud will be dead. At least that's what she wants everyone to think. After years of research, Maud has decided to fake her own death. She's figured out the how, the when, the where, and who will help her unsuspectingly. The why is complex. Revenge, partly. Her terrible parents deserve this, but there's also l'appel du vide, the call of the void, that beckons her toward a new life where she will be tied to no one, free and adrift. Then, Frankie, a step-cousin she barely knows, figures out what she's plotting, and the plan seems like it's ruined, except Frankie doesn't want to rat her out. Frankie wants in. But there are some things you can never run away from. What if the poison is not in the soil, but in the roots? This pulse-pounding thriller offers a nuanced exploration of identity, freedom, and falling in love while your world falls apart. Alright, let me grab this stack next. Okay, next up, this thick book. I've heard a few people mention this book, but I don't recall anybody like having said their thoughts after reading it, so I don't know. That is Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro, and she's thick. Ooh, she's thick. How long is this? 658 pages. Okay. This says, a stunning new work of historical fantasy, J.M. Miro's Ordinary Monsters introduces readers to the dark, labyrinthine world of the Talents. England, 1882. In Victorian London, two children with mysterious powers are hunted by a figure of darkness, a man made of smoke. 16-year-old Charlie Ovid, despite a brutal childhood in Mississippi, doesn't have a scar on him. His body heals itself, whether he wants it to or not. Marlowe, a foundling from a railway freight car, shines with a strange bluish light. He can melt or mend flesh. When a jaded female detective is recruited to escort them to safety, all three begin a journey into the nature of difference and belonging, and the shadowy edges of the monstrous. What follows is a story of wonder and betrayal, from the gaslit streets of London and the wooden theaters of Meijing-era Tokyo to the eerie estate outside Edinburgh, where other children with gifts, the Talents, have been gathered. There, the world of the dead and the world of the living threaten to collide. And as secrets within the Institute unfurl, Marlowe, Charlie, and the rest of the Talents will discover the truth about their abilities and the nature of what is stalking them, that the worst monsters sometimes come bearing the sweetest gifts. Riveting in its scope of exquisitely written, Ordinary Monsters presents a catastrophic vision of the Victorian world and of the gifted, broken children who must save it. Alright, next up is The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. And this one says, New York Times bestselling author Catherine Center's The Bodyguard is unabashedly romantic, laugh-out-loud funny, and the perfect summer read. She's got his back. Hannah Brooks looks more like a kindergarten teacher than somebody who could kill you with a corkscrew, or a ballpoint pen, or a dinner napkin. But the truth is, she's an executive protection agent, aka bodyguard, and she just got hired to protect superstar actor Jack Stapleton from his middle-aged corgi breeding stalker. He's got her heart. Jack Stapleton's a household name. He's captured by paparazzi on beaches the world over and famous for, among other things, rising out of the waves in all manner of clingy board shorts and glistening like a Roman deity. But a few years back, in the wake of a family tragedy, he dropped from the public eye and went off-grid. They've got a secret. When Jack's mom gets sick, he goes home to the family's Texas ranch to help out. Only one catch. He doesn't want his family to know about his stalker, or the bodyguard thing. And so Hannah, against her will and better judgment, finds herself pretending to be Jack's girlfriend as a cover, even though her ex says no one will believe it. What could possibly go wrong? Hannah hardly believes it herself, but the more time she spends with Jack, the more real it all starts to seem. And therein lies the heartbreak, because it's easy for Hannah to protect Jack, but protecting her own long-neglected heart, that's the hardest thing she's ever done. Okay, next up is Circe by Madeline Miller. I know a lot of people absolutely love this, so I wanted to give it a shot. This says, in the house of Helios, god of the sun and mightiest of the Titans, a daughter is born. But Circe is a strange child, not powerful like her father, nor viciously alluring like her mother. Turning to the world of mortals for companionship, she discovers that she does possess power, the power of witchcraft, which can transform rivals into monsters and menace the gods themselves. Threatened, Zeus banishes Circe to a deserted island, where she hones her occult craft and crosses paths with many of the most famous figures in all of mythology, including the Minotaur, Daedalus and his doomed son Icarus, the murderous Medea, and of course, wily Odysseus. But there is danger too, for a woman who stands alone, and Circe unwittingly draws the wrath of both men and gods, ultimately finds herself pitted against one of the most terrifying and vengeful of the Olympians. To protect what she holds dear, Circe must summon her strength and choose, once and for all, whether she belongs with the gods, she is born from, or the mortal she has come to love. Next up is The Reading List by Sarah Nisha Adams. Love me a bookish book. This says, widower Mukesh lives a life in West London where he shops every Wednesday, goes to temple, and worries about his granddaughter Priya, who hides in her room all day reading. Alicia is a bright but anxious teenager working at the local library when she discovers a forgotten slip of paper in the back of To Kill a Mockingbird. It contains a list of novels she's never heard of before. Intrigued, she decides to read every book on the list. As each story gives up its magic, the books transport Alicia away from the painful reality she's facing at home. When Mukesh arrives at the library, desperate to forge a connection with his bookworm granddaughter, Alicia wonders if the books might be a lifeline for him too. As the reading list begins to circulate in their community, new readers discover how fiction can illuminate so much joy and sorrow in real life. Okay, so this next book I actually got for Xander. I asked him before I got it to see if he would actually read it. And it's kind of done in like a graphic novel style. And it's How to Be a Person. 65 hugely useful, super important skills to learn before you're grown up by Catherine Newman. And it's got stuff like calculate a tip, have a conversation, do a load of laundry, write a thank you note, and make a quesadilla, load the dishwasher, address an envelope, just all these kind of things. Be a gracious host, care for houseplants, that kind of thing. And Xander's 17 now. He'll be 18 before you know it. Oh my goodness. And he needs to learn some of these things he hasn't already learned. Alright, next up is White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. I think I've heard mostly good reviews, though I think I've heard some mixed reviews on this, but I'm excited to try it out. And this says, when Marigold and her newly blended family moved to the embattled city of Cedarville, Mary thinks this might be the fresh start she needs. But the renovated picture-perfect home on Maple Street, sitting between debilitated houses, surrounded by wary neighbors, has its secrets. And secrets always find their way through the cracks. Next up is No One Will Miss Her by Kat Rosenfield. This says, a witty, crackling novel of psychological suspense with a murderous twist that will shock even the most savvy reader. On an October morning, a homicide investigator pulls into the hard-luck town of Copper Falls, Maine. The junkyard is burning, and the local pariah, Lizzie Ouellette, is dead, with her husband Dwayne nowhere to be found. Adrienne Richards, blonde and fabulous social media influencer and wife of a disgraced billionaire, has been renting Lizzie's tiny lake house as a country getaway, even though Copper Falls is anything but a resort town. As Adrienne's connection to the case becomes clear, so too does her connection to Lizzie, who narrates their story from beyond the grave. The women navigate a relationship that cuts across class boundaries, transactional, complicated, and finally deadly. A gone girl for the gig economy. This is a story of privilege and identity as two devious women from opposite worlds discover the dangers of coveting someone else's life. Next up is Never Have I Ever by Jocelyn Jackson. And this says, don't play games you can't afford to lose. Amy Way is proud of her ordinary life and the simple pleasures that come with it. Her greatest joy is her family, her devoted professor husband, her spirited 15-year-old stepdaughter, her adorable infant son. But Amy's sweet, uncomplicated life begins to unravel when the mysterious Angelica Rue arrives on her doorstep one book club night. Sultry and magnetic, Rue keeps the wine flowing and lures the group into a game of spilling secrets. Everyone thinks it's naughty, harmless fun, only Amy knows better. Something wicked has come her way. A she-devil in a pricey red sports car who seems to know the terrible truth about who she is and what she once did. When they're alone, Rue tells her that if she doesn't give her what she wants, what she deserves, she will make Amy pay for her sins, one way or another. To protect her family and the life she's built, Amy must beat the devil at her own clever game, matching wits with Rue in an escalating war of hidden pasts and unearthed secrets. Amy knows the consequences if she can't beat Rue. What terrifies her is everything she could lose if she wins. Next is Greenwich Park by Catherine Faulkner. This says, a twisty, whip-smart debut thriller, as electrifying as the #1 New York Times bestseller The Girl on the Train, about impending motherhood, unreliable friendships, and the high price of keeping secrets. Helen's idyllic life, handsome architect husband, gorgeous Victorian house, and cherished baby on the way, after years of trying, begins to change the day she attends her first prenatal class and meets Rachel, an unpredictable single mother-to-be. Rachel doesn't seem very maternal. She smokes, drinks, and professes little interest in parenthood. Still, Helen is drawn to her. Maybe Rachel needs a friend, and to be honest, Helen's a bit lonely herself. At least Rachel is fun to be with. She makes Helen laugh, invites her confidences, and distracts her from her fears. But Rachel's increasingly erratic behavior is unsettling, and Helen's not the only one who's noticed. Her friends and family begin to suspect that her strange new friend may be linked to their shared history in unexpected ways. When Rachel threatens to expose past crime that could destroy all of their lives, it becomes clear that there are more than a few secrets lying beneath the broad-leaved trees and warm lamplight of Greenwich Park. Alright, next up is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. I read the Book of Cold Cases by her and really enjoyed it, so I wanted to try more from her. This says, a journalist uncovers the dark secrets of an abandoned boarding school in this chilling suspense novel from the New York Times bestselling author of the Book of Cold Cases. Vermont, 1950. There's a place for the girls whom no one wants, the troublemakers, the illegitimate, the ones too smart for their own good. It's called Idlewild Hall, and local legend says the boarding school is haunted. 4 roommates bond over their whispered fears, their friendship blossoming, until one of them mysteriously disappears. Vermont, 2014. 20 years ago, the body of Fiona Sheridan's elder sister was found in the overgrown fields near the ruins of Idlewild Hall. While her sister's boyfriend was tried and convicted of the murder, Fiona can't stop revisiting the events, unable to shake the feeling that something was never right about the case. When the renovation of Idlewild Hall leads to a shocking discovery linked to the loss of her sister, Fiona must confront secrets that were meant to stay hidden in the past, and a voice that won't be silenced. Okay, let's go to this stack here. Okay, next up is The Magic Misfits, The Fourth Suit by Neil Patrick Harris. So this is middle grade, and Xander and I have read the first 2 books in this series and gave them 5 stars. And so I don't know if he'll continue, because we did read these like quite some time ago, and like I said, he's 17 now, and he was probably like 12 or 13 when we were reading them. But I wanted to continue, even if he doesn't. So I pulled up on Goodreads the first book. This says, from award-winning actor Neil Patrick Harris comes the magical first book in a new series with plenty of tricks up its sleeve. When street magician Carter runs away, he never expects to find friends and magic in a sleepy New England town. But like any good trick, things change instantly as greedy B.B. Basso and his crew of crooked carnies arrive to steal anything and everything they can get their sticky fingers on. After a fateful encounter with the local purveyor of illusion, Dante Vernon, Carter teams up with 5 other like-minded illusionists. Together they use both teamwork and magic. They'll set out to save the town of mineral wells from Basso's villainous clutches. These 6 magic misfits will soon discover adventure, friendship, and their own self-worth in this delightful new series. And it also says, psst, hey you, yes you, congratulations on reading this far. As a reward, I'll let you in on a little secret. This book isn't just a book. It's a treasure trove of secrets and ciphers and codes and even tricks. Keep your eyes peeled and you'll discover more than just a story. You'll learn how to make your own magic. And there's all kinds of different things throughout, like little ciphers, but also they actually do teach you some magic tricks in here too. And we had a lot of fun with those. Okay, next up is Redemptor by Jordan Afueco. And I have multiple copies of Ray Bear. I very much enjoyed it, and I've pulled it up on Goodreads so I can tell you. This is the sequel to it. Terasai has always longed for the warmth of a family. She was raised in isolation by a mysterious, often absent mother known only as the Lady. The Lady sends her to the capital of the global empire of Erisar to compete with other children to be chosen as one of the Crown Prince's Council of 11. If she's picked, she'll be joined with the other council members through the Ray, a bond deeper than blood. That closeness is irresistible to Terasai, who has always wanted to belong somewhere. But the lady has other ideas, including a magical wish that Terasai is compelled to obey. Kill the Crown Prince once she gains his trust. Terasai won't stand by and become someone's pawn, but is she strong enough to choose a different path for herself? And I very much enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars and I wanted to continue. Okay, next up is another beautiful classic edition. This one's a small one, and it is The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, and I just think this is so pretty. Next up is Girl on Fire by Alicia Keys. Also co-written by Andrew Weiner and illustrated by Brittany Williams. And this is a graphic novel. This says, "It's amazing how your whole world can change in an instant. It happens for Lolo Wright when her brother James is accosted by the police for a crime he didn't commit. Lolo knows too well how this will end if she doesn't act, but she doesn't realize how strong she actually is until she stops the assault with powers from her mind. Now her brother is out of harm's way, but her newfound abilities have brought her to the attention of Skin. He has enough money, goons, and leverage to make him a threat, not just to Lolo, but to her friends, family, and neighborhood. Having already brought Lolo's troubled classmate Runt and his super strength into his fold, Skin is looking to make Lolo part of his crew, whether she wants to join him or not. Skin's found a way to put Lolo in an impossible place by threatening the things that mean the most to her. Does she betray everything she stands for and cave under Skin's pressure, or does she stand up for herself and what's right, even if that means endangering the people she loves the most? It's an authentic, honest, coming-of-age graphic novel about finding the fire within from Grammy Award-winning, chart-topping musician and activist Alicia Keys." Next up is another graphic novel, and this is one that I've heard really good things about, and it is called Pashmina by Nidhi Shanani. And it looks like this. And let's see. This says, "Priyanka Das has so many unanswered questions. Why did her mother abandon her home in India years ago? What was it like there? And most important, who is her father? And why did her mom leave him behind?" But Pri's mom avoids these questions. The topic of India is permanently closed. For Pri, her mother's homeland can only exist in her imagination. That is, until she finds a mysterious pashmina tucked away in a forgotten suitcase. When she wraps herself in it, she is transported to a place more vivid and colorful than any guidebook or Bollywood film. But is this the real India? And what is that shadow lurking in the background? To learn the truth, Pri must travel farther than she's ever dared and find the family she never knew. In this heartwarming debut, Nidhi Chinani weaves a tale about the hardship and self-discovery that is born from juggling 2 cultures and 2 worlds. Okay, so this next book, I have 2 of the exact same book. I must have accidentally hit it twice or something because it was in the same box. It wasn't like I ordered it in 2 different boxes. It was in the same box. So I must have hit it twice. And that is Night Shift by Alex Finley. And I guess I just put one of these as like a blind date with a book for one of my book buddy of the month. If you're interested in learning about my book buddy of the month or becoming one of my coffee patrons, I'll have a link down in the description. You can go and check out all the perks they all get. But yeah, every month I have a book buddy of the month and they get special perks. And also all of my wine tier coffee patrons get seasonal book mail from me, and so they can choose a blind date with a book or other things like something from their wish list or whatever. Anyway, The Night Shift. This says, the night was expected to bring tragedy. So begins one of the most highly anticipated thrillers in recent years. It's New Year's Eve 1999. Y2K is expected to bring chaos. Planes falling from the sky, elevators plunging to earth, world markets collapsing, a digital apocalypse. None of that happens. I do remember that very, very well. But at a Blockbuster Video in New Jersey, 4 teenagers working late at the store are attacked. Only one inexplicably survives. Police quickly identify a suspect, the boyfriend of one of the victims, who flees and is never seen again. 15 years later, more teenage employees are attacked at an ice cream store in the same town, and again, only one makes it out alive. In the aftermath of the latest crime, 3 lives intersect. The lone survivor of the Blockbuster massacre, who's forced to relive the horrors of her tragedy, the brother of the fugitive accused, who's convinced the police have the wrong suspect, and FBI agent Sarah Keller, who must delve into the secrets of both nights, stirring up memories of teen love and lies, to uncover the truth about murders on the night shift. Twisty, poignant, and redemptive, The Night Shift is a story about the legacy of trauma and how the broken can come out the other side, and it solidifies Alex Finlay as one of the new leading voices in the world of thrillers. Next up is This May End Badly by Samantha Markham. And this says, pranky mastermind Doe and her motley band of Weston girls are determined to win the century-long war against their rival Winfield Academy before the clock ticks down on their senior year. But when their headmistress announces that the Weston school will merge with Winfield the following year, their longtime feud spirals into chaos. To protect the school that has been her safe haven since her parents' divorce, Doe puts together a plan to prove once and for all that the Winfield boys and Weston girls just don't mix, starting by aiming directly at 3, Winfield's boy king and their nemesis. In a desperate move to win, Doe strikes a bargain with 3's cousin, Wells. If he pretends to date her to get under 3's skin, she'll help Wells get back the family heirloom that rightfully belongs to him. As the pranks escalate, so do Doe's feelings for her fake boyfriend, and she spins lie after lie to keep up her end of the deal. But when a teacher long suspected of inappropriate behavior messes with a younger Weston girl, Doe has decided what's more important, beating her rivals or joining forces to protect something far more critical than a prank war legacy. This May End Badly is a story about friendship, falling in love, and crossing pretty much every line presented to you, and how to atone when you do. Next up is Cinder and Glass by Melissa De La Cruz. This says, Cendrillon de Livaux was poised to be the most eligible maiden in all of France, but the death of her father, the king's favorite advisor, has left Cendrillon at the will of her cruel stepmother and stepsisters. Dubbed Lady Cinder by the court, Cendrillon is forced to become a servant to her new family. But when she attends the royal ball, she catches the eye of the handsome Prince Louis and his younger brother Auguste. Even though Cendrillon has an immediate aversion to Louis and a connection with Auguste, the only way to escape her stepmother is to compete with the other girls at court for the prince's hand. As her stepmother's cruelty grows, Cendrillon captures the prince's heart, though her own heart belongs to Auguste. Cendrillion's fate rests on one question: can she bear losing the boy she loves in order to leave the life she hates? I love me a retelling too. Alright, next up is These Fleeting Shadows by Kate Alice Marshall. And this one says, Helen Vaughn doesn't know why she and her mother left their ancestral home at Harrowstone Hall, called Harrow, or why they haven't spoken to their extended family since. So when her grandfather dies, she's shocked to learn that he has left everything, the house, the grounds, and the money, to her. The inheritance comes with one condition. She must stay on the grounds of Harrow for 1 full year, or she'll be left with nothing. There is more at stake than money. For as long as she can remember, Harrow has haunted Helen's dreams, and now those dreams have become a waking nightmare. Helen knows that if she's going to survive the year, she needs to uncover the secrets of Harrow. Why is the house built like a labyrinth? What is digging the holes that appear in the woods each night? And why does the house itself seem to be making her sick? With each twisted revelation, Helen questions what she knows about Harrow, her family, and even herself. She no longer wonders if she wants to leave, but if she can. Next is Just Like the Other Girls by Claire Douglas. And this one says, at loose ends, after the devastating death of her mother, Una Richardson responds to an advertisement for a lady's companion, a position that leads her into the wealthy, secluded world of Miss Elspeth Mackenzie. But Elspeth's home isn't the comforting haven it seems. Catherine, her cold and bitter daughter, resents Una's presence. More disturbing is evidence suggesting 2 girls lived here before her. What happened to these young women? Why don't the Mackenzies talk about them? What are they hiding? As the walls begin to close in around her, Una fears she'll end up just like the other girls. And then another one of the classics I got, The Arabian Nights, selected and edited by Andrew Lang. Isn't this just stunning? Like, I love these so much. Aladdin had won the hearts of the people by his gentle bearing. He was made captain of the Sultan's army and won several battles for him, but remained modest and courteous as before, and lived thus in peace and content for several years. And these have like the ribbon bookmark and everything. Okay, let me set this here. Also, my battery is flashing, so let me change that out and then we'll move on to this stack. Okay, sorry if the angle changed. All right, first up we have Postcards from Summer by Cynthia Platt. How pretty is this book? It's also way thicker than I thought. It's like 560 something pages. This says, 17-year-old Lexi has always wanted to know more about her mother, who passed away when Lexi was only a child. But her dad will barely talk about her. He says he'd rather live in the present with Lexi, her stepmom, and her half-brother. Lexi loves her family too, but is it so wrong to want to learn about the mom she never got to know? When Lexi's grandma dies and leaves her a worn blue chest that belonged to Lexi's mother, Lexi is ecstatic to find a treasure trove of keepsakes. Her mom held on to letters, pamphlets, flyers, and news articles, all from the same beautiful summertime getaway, Mechanic Island, plus a cryptic postcard that hints at a forbidden romance. If Lexi wants answers, the island is where she needs to go. Without telling her dad, Lexi goes to gorgeous Mechanic Island in Lake Huron, reachable only by ferry. Cars are forbidden and bikes are #1 mode of transportation along the quaint cobblestone streets and around the majestic hotel that looms like a high castle over charming cafes and bookshops. Following her mother's footsteps, Lexi befriends an elderly former Broadway star and a charming young hotel worker while quickly falling in love with her surroundings. But though the island may be beautiful, it's hiding unfortunate secrets, some with her mother at the center. Could some questions be best left buried beneath the blue waters? And this really is such a pretty book. It's also very pink. Okay, next up is Shades of Rust and Ruin by A.G. Howard, and this cover is so pretty. Hold on. I think the puppy is chewing on the door. Okay, as I was saying, I think this cover is so creepy and stunning, and this says, Phoenix, Nix Loring, knows her family is under a Halloween curse. When she was 3, her parents tragically died on October 31st. 11 years later, her twin sister Lark suffered a similar fate. Ever since, Nix has battled survivor's guilt. She can't even find comfort in Clary, Lark's boyfriend, and the one person who understands her pain, because Nix's hidden feelings for him go far beyond friendship. All that remains are her sketches, where she finds solace among the goblins and fairies in her imaginary world of Mystiquel. When her depression starts affecting her ability to see color, Nix all but gives up on her art until her uncle goes missing on Halloween Day. Hot on his trail, Nix and Clary step through a portal, becoming trapped inside a decaying version of their own town filled with Nix's own sketches come to life. As Nix and Clary search for her uncle within the sinister and dangerous world of Mystiquel, Nix discovers there's more to her family curse and otherworldly artwork than she ever imagined. And unless she can solve the Goblin King's maze before the clock strikes midnight, her life won't be the only one the curse claims next. Set in a gritty, atmospheric fantasy world, New York Times bestselling author A.G. Howard's thrilling new fantasy is full of romance, twists, and betrayals. So excited to read that. Next up we have That Weekend by Kara Thomas. And I've read some other Kara Thomas books, like Little Monsters and The Cheerleaders, and very much enjoyed them. So I'm looking forward to trying this one out too. This one says, 3 best friends, a lake house, a secret trip. What could go wrong? It was supposed to be the perfect prom weekend getaway, but it's clear something terrible has happened when Claire wakes up alone and bloodied on a hiking trail with no memory of the past 48 hours. 3 went up the mountain, but only 1 came back. Now everyone wants answers, most of all Claire. She remembers Friday night, but after that, nothing. And now Kat and Jessie, her best friends, are missing. That weekend changes everything. What happened on the mountain, and where are Kat and Jessie? Claire knows the answers are buried somewhere in her memory, but as she's learning, everyone has secrets, even her best friends, and she's pretty sure she's not going to like what she remembers. Next up is Love Me Never by Sarah Wolf. This says, it was also previously published as Lovely Vicious. Okay. This says, 17-year-old Isis Blake hasn't fallen in love in 3 years, 9 weeks, and 5 days. And after what happened last time, she intends to keep it that way. Since then, she's lost 85 pounds, gotten 4 streaks of purple in her hair, and moved to the butt crack of nowhere, Ohio, to help her mom escape a bad relationship. All the girls in her new school want one thing, Jack Hunter, the ice prince of East Summit High. Hot as an Armani ad, smart enough to get into Yale, and colder than the Arctic. Jack Hunter's never gone out with anyone. Sure, people have seen him downtown with beautiful women, but he's never given high school girls the time of day. Until Isis punches him in the face. Jack's met his match. Suddenly, everything is a game. The goal, make the other beg for mercy. The game board, East Summit High. The reward, something neither of them expected. Next up is When You Get the Chance by Emma Lord. This says, a sparkling, effervescent novel from the New York Times bestselling author of Tweet Cute and Reese Witherspoon's YA book club pick, You Have a Match. Nothing will get in the way of Millie Price's dream of becoming a Broadway star. Not her lovable but super introverted dad, who has raised Millie alone since she was a baby. Not her drama club rival, Oliver, who is the very definition of simmering romantic tension. And not her Millie moods, the feelings of intense emotion that threaten to overwhelm. Millie needs an ally, and when an accidentally left open browser window brings Millie to her dad's embarrassingly moody live journal from 2003, Millie knows just what to do. Find her mom. But how can you find a new part of your life and expect it to fit into your old one without leaving any marks? And why is it that when you go looking for the past, it somehow keeps bringing you back to what you've had all along? A big-hearted novel about falling in love, making a mess, and learning to let go. Emma Lord's When You Get the Chance is a glittering and joyful novel of enemies to lovers, family lost and found, and discovering who you really are. Next is actually a book that I already have read and own and love, but this one's a little different. So I have Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger, and this is the illustrated and annotated version, and apparently it contains some exclusive deleted scenes, but I just thought it was so cool that it's like annotated. It's got, you know, like the author's notes all throughout it, and this is a 5-star read for me, and so I'm really excited to check out these annotations and the illustrations. Okay, next up is The Chain by Adrienne McKenty. This says, the morning starts like any other. Rachel Klein drops her daughter Kylie at the bus stop and heads into her day. But then a cell phone call from an unknown number changes everything. On the line is a woman informing Rachel that she has Kylie bound and gagged in her back seat, and the only way Rachel will ever see her again is if she pays a ransom and kidnaps another child. The caller is a mother herself whose son has also been abducted, and if Rachel doesn't do exactly as she's told, the boy will die and so will Kylie. Rachel is now part of The Chain, a terrifying scheme that turns parents from victims into criminals and is making someone else very rich in the process. Rachel is an ordinary woman, but over the coming days, she will be pushed beyond ordinary limits. She will have to make impossible moral choices and do terrible things. The Chain is ruthless, terrifying, and completely anonymous. The rules are simple. Find the money, find your victim, and then commit a horrible act you'd have thought yourself incapable of just 24 hours ago. What the masterminds behind the chain know is that the parents will do anything for their children, but what they don't know is that they may have finally met their match. Rachel is smart, determined, and a survivor. Can she be the one to finally break the chain? Next up is Lumberjane's Friendship to the Max. This is volume 2, and I got volume 1 in my last month, I believe, and I'm excited to collect these as I find them. This looks like a cute, I've heard really good things about it too, a cute little graphic novel that follows kids at like a summer camp setting, but there's like magical creatures and stuff. Next up is The Babysitter by Cheryl Brown. This is a hefty book. Also super floppy. This says, you trust her with your family. Would you trust her with your life? Mark and Melissa Kane are thrilled to have found Jade, a babysitter who is brilliant with their young children. Having seen her own house burned to the ground, Jade needs them as much as they need her. Moving Jade into the family home can only be a good thing, can't it? As Mark works long hours as a police officer and Melissa struggles with running a business, the family becomes ever more reliant on their babysitter, who is only too happy to help. And as Melissa begins to slip into depression, it's Jade who is left picking up the pieces. But Mark soon notices things aren't quite as they seem. Things at home feel wrong, and as Mark begins to investigate their seemingly perfect sitter, what he discovers shocks him to the core. He's met Jade before, and now he suspects he might know what she wants. Mark is in a race against time to protect his family, but what will he find as he goes back to his home? Interesting. It's so floppy too. Okay, and then the last book in this haul is actually a signed copy, and it is The 90s, a Book by Chuck Klosterman. And this says, from the New York Times bestselling author of But What If We're Wrong, a wise and funny reckoning with the decade that gave us slacker grunge irony about the sin of trying too hard during the great shift in human consciousness of any decade in American history. It was long ago, but not as long as it seems. The Berlin Wall fell and the Twin Towers collapsed. In between, one presidential election was allegedly decided by Ross Perot, while another was plausibly decided by Ralph Nader. At the beginning, almost every name and address was listed in a phone book, and everyone answered their landlines because you didn't know who it was. By the end, exposing someone's address was an act of emotional violence, and nobody picked up their new cell phone if they didn't know who it was. The 1990s brought about a revolution in the human condition we're still groping to understand. Happily, Chuck Klosterman is more than up to the job. Beyond Epiphanyanama. What? Epiphanom. Like, I can't say this word. Epiphanomania. Like Cop Killer and Titanic and Zima. There were wholesale shifts in how society was perceived, the rise of the internet, pre-9/11 politics, and the paradoxical belief that nothing was more humiliating than undisguised ambition. Pop culture accelerated without the aid of a machine that remembered everything, generating an odd comfort in never being certain about anything. On a 1990s Thursday night, more people watched any random episode of Seinfeld than the finale of Game of Thrones. But nobody thought that was important. If you missed it, you simply missed it. This was the last era that held to the idea of an objective, hegemonic mainstream before everything began to fracture, whether you found a home in it or defined yourself against it. In the 90s, Chuck Klosterman makes a home in all of it. The films, the music, the sports, the TV, the politics, the changes regarding race and class and sexuality, the yin-yang of Oprah and Alan Greenspan. In perhaps no other book ever written would a sentence like the video for Smells Like Teen Spirit was not more consequential than the reunification of Germany make complete sense. Chuck Klosterman has written a multi-dimensional masterpiece, a work of synthesis so smart and delightful that future historians might well refer to this entire period as Klosterman, I can't even say that word. This is going to be interesting. Hold on. Okay, so those are all 39 books I acquired in this haul. Oh my goodness. Have you guys read any of them? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye.